Now, the usual caveat with this exam review video, I haven't seen the exam paper. This is all based on what my wonderful students have reported to me hot off the press. So overall, I was pretty happy with what came up. One of the things that I heavily tipped, quality management, came up heavily in all exam variants. So I was pleased to see that. Some of the things I did tip though didn't come up. So business risks, there were none. Just like in March 22. So if you're sitting the exam in September, I really think you're going to get quite a lot of business risks. And just like with recent exam sittings, we saw quite a lot of focus on financial reporting. Some of it not that technical, so some of it on inventory, but also some more technical things as well, discontinued operations. In one of the variants in question 1, there was some stuff all about having some assets that belong to customers and then becoming damaged, which is a bit unusual. So some unusual things, but as always with good exam technique, then you would see those hard bits, have a bit of a go, and then move on. So into the detailed review of the questions. Did you get the variant in question 1 all about boats? Sounds like there was quite a lot of technical and tricky financial reporting here with those customers' boats that were damaged and potentially an insurance claim. And in question, the first part, you were asked to talk about ROMs specifically, not audit risks. And weird to be asked about risks of material misstatement with no business risks alongside it. Then part B of the question was a heavy focus on inventory. You were told in part A specifically, don't talk about inventory. So you would have lost professional skills marks if you did. Always follow the instructions. That's the aim of the game in question 1. So part B was a lot of stuff about different types of inventory. So raw materials, work in progress and finished goods. And then some nice standard procedures and ethics to finish off. And the ethical issue was something to do with being a loan guarantor and some work about internal controls. And from the sounds of it, there was lots to go at in there. Now this question had a heavy focus on inventory in parts B and part C. So hopefully if you got this one, you were all over inventory. Or did you get the second variant in section A of the exam, the 50 marker, the one that focused all about books, an online retailer, and the examiner is showing that they're a fan of Tolkien and Lord of the Rings by calling it Baggins. Now this one, a big audit risk question, 22 marks. And from all accounts, there was absolutely loads of risks to go at in the scenario. Provisions, redundancies, depreciation, assets held for sale. Lots of mainstream financial reporting standards, things that I hope if you were well prepared, you would have been all over. It's becoming more important in AAA to be really sharp on your financial reporting, and this variant really showed that. Now part B, more stuff about inventory. No matter which variant you got, you had to be a stock expert. So procedures about inventory. And then the final part wasn't your classic ethics, it was the audit implications. So not just ethical matters, but wider things as well that are going to impact the audit. Things like being able to rely on management representations, for example. And this one was all based around there being some illegal activity. And it's very similar, by the sounds of it, to one of the questions that I put into my mock exam about audit implications around a scenario. It wasn't a book retailer, but very similar with there being some illegal activity. Now into the reporting question in section B, it looks like there were only 2 variants of the exam here. And one of them, the first one here about evaluating uncorrected misstatements, here I think you were given a little table of these uncorrected misstatements, which is just like one of the practice questions we did on my course. So I was quite pleased to see that. So you had to evaluate those. And something in here about what would you discuss with management or those charged with governance. And the last part of it, the smallest bit, was about what impact would these issues have on the audit report. So this is following a theme that we're seeing recently in AAA, that the reporting question quite often doesn't actually have that much reporting in it. There's a lot of other stuff as well. I think this one was only 4, 5 or maybe 6 marks. I've been told different things on actual reporting. And then the second reporting variant was focusing on audit evidence around a loan and quite a lot about going concern. And again, the main emphasis here wasn't really on reporting. It was all about going concern. But the reporting part came at the end where you had to critically evaluate an audit report. And there was a section, I'm told, on CAMs here. Now, I was quite pleased with both these reporting questions because across my 2 mocks, we did questions just like this, including critically evaluating an audit report. And on my revision course, we did a question that had critically evaluating a CAM section. So hopefully my students were doing super well prepared for this. And so into the non-reporting question that you'd have got in section B. And it looks like there were 3 variants here that came up. The first one, this inquiries and procedures question. You were given 2 different scenarios, one about a government grant and one about a legal case. And you were asked, what would you ask management about these and what procedures would you perform? So very much a procedures question. If you got that one, added on to the procedures elsewhere in the exam, a very procedures heavy exam, which is a good thing because if you know what you're doing in procedures, stating what the evidence is that you require and explaining how the test works, lots of easy marks. But the second part of that first question, where you were evaluating an audit tender, that is odd, right? That I don't think I've seen a past question like that. So you may not have practiced a question that's anything like it. But here you were given 2 different audit firms and given quite a lot of information about the 2 audit firms and asked on behalf of a client to evaluate which of the 2 firms they should go for using your judgment. And hopefully you've been listening to my advice videos because in that kind of question, you definitely would need to conclude clearly on which one to go for and perhaps have some recommendations about how to follow up with them. Then the other 2 non-reporting questions, these ones were both on quality control, quality management, which is the topic I was really tipping. They both seem to be cold reviews. That's that type of review that's done after the audit report has been signed and we're trying to learn lessons for future audits. And so in these ones, it'd be really important that the comments you're making are relevant to that phase of the audit. This audit is done and dusted and fully completed. And so your points had to be all about learning lessons for future audits, not going back and improving this one necessarily. And there were some extra bits and pieces in the middle one here, the cold review, where you had to do some stuff around controls. There's some controls issues around IT and some stuff about data analytics as well. A hot topic that the examiner tests regularly. It seems to be coming up most sittings. Not for lots of marks, but it's always in there. And that third one, well, here you were given 3 different scenarios where the audit evidence and the audit procedures and the approach to the audit were lacking in different ways in each one. And apparently there were quite a few ethical issues in there too. So hopefully you found this review video useful. We will possibly get to see some of these questions when the examiner releases a sample of the March and June exam questions. That normally will happen around June results time in July. But typically what they do is they release more of the March questions because, well, they've got more time to kind of get everything together and get those ready for release. So I perhaps don't expect to see any of these questions being released, but I would expect us to see some of the March ones. And I'm very interested to read the examiner's report about these questions to see how you guys got on. I hope that the exam was okay and best of luck for results.